Hey everyone, this is Tommy Zarka, one of the sports information directors here at Clarkson University, and I'm joined by the Golden Knights head cross country and Nordic ski coach, Torin Liberte. This interview will serve as a quick catch up for parents, alumni, and prospective student athletes as a kind of state of the program. So, Coach, obviously this has been a challenging fall for many student athletes. Can you talk a little bit about how unusual it was in regards to practice for cross country, and also how things are as well now that you've begun dryland Nordic practices, especially in regards to the school and local directives?
Yeah, so I will admit things were definitely a little different this year than they were last year. Fortunately with our two sports, it is very easy to maintain social distancing because nobody really wants to run around on top of each other. Nobody wants to ski on top of each other. So being outside and being separated, that has been a very, very easy thing to maintain. The trickiest bit for us, especially during cross country season, was having to have smaller practices than usual. Usually at practices we can have, we'd have 25 to 30 runners at practice. This year we were capped for the first, what would have been 3 or 4 weeks of the season at 10. We were able to get around that pretty easily by just having more practice sessions during the day. Usually we have a morning and an afternoon session. And for a couple of weeks, I think we were actually holding 4 different practice sessions a day that runners could, the runners would sign up for. We'd give them the workout and go off to keep the numbers down. We usually have 8 or 9 runners at a practice. And for skiing, it's been very much the same way. Now that we're a little further into the semester, we've had kind of fewer restrictions put upon us at this point. So we were able to get to larger team size practices much earlier on.
Early on, there was some discussion for cross country about having virtual meets, and you did get one in September, as well as a run with the ROTC program here at Clarkson. How did that first race come together for the cross country team? And also, just to add on to that, what are your expectations as far as competition goes during the winter for in-person or virtual races for the Nordic team?
Yep. So we were able to get off one, like you said, one virtual race and then one more in-person, but again, virtually run race with our Army ROTC program. The virtual race that we ran, that was a more collegiate race, was a race that was put on by USA Track and Field New England called the Codfish Bowl. It was, I believe it was the 42nd running. I might be off on that number.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere up there.
It's somewhere in the 40th something running of the Codfish Bowl. Usually takes place in Franklin Park in Boston, Massachusetts. But this year, with everything that was going on, they were unable to hold the in-person race. So what they ended up doing was they put it out to all of the kind of the Northeast region schools, as well as a bunch of the other track clubs and everything. And they gave 2 options. One option for the more Boston area schools could reserve a time on the actual race course itself, run their 5K, put down the time. USA Track and Field would take care of all of their timing there. And then that was one set of results for the more asynchronous race. And then for all of the colleges that were doing it virtually, there was another set of results since we weren't all going to be on the same course. So we ran ours on our back 40 trails in the Clarkson Forest. And as a team, we didn't have enough runners on our women's team to score or to officially score by virtue of having the second most number of runners in that field. We ended up placing second. And on our men's team, we swept places 2 through 7 on there for scoring to come in second or to come in first overall.
Yeah. And what are your expectations as far as maybe is the Nordic team have to be doing anything? Or are you going to be trying to do virtual races that way? Or do you think that in January, when things are outdoors and there really, there's a lot of separation for that for Nordic a lot of times with staggered starts instead of mass starts, do you think you're going to be able to do races that way?
Yep. So right now our plan is still to hold not necessarily as large a field as we've had in the past for races, but have everybody racing on the same day as much as possible. Fortunately for Nordic versus our usual cross-country races, the fields are generally smaller anyways, where you might have 80 to 200 people on the start line for a cross country race. With our, in our fields, we might have 150 people combined between the men's and women's races for Nordic. And like we said, having a lot of individual start races and kind of spreading people out on the course a little bit does help a lot. And there are also a lot of guidelines that have been put out by U.S. Ski and Snowboard, New England Nordic Ski Association, and our U.S. Collegiate Ski and Snowboard Association that kind of lay out the groundwork for the kind of races we're trying to put on. Right now, we're in the middle of scheduling everything for our season and seeing what teams are going to be able to participate. But right now, we are planning on going ahead, even if it is just us versus St. Lawrence versus Paul Smith and some of the more New York schools. Following New York State COVID travel guidelines, and also having to follow Vermont COVID travel guidelines to accommodate our neighbors across the lake.
Torin, your team has also done a good job of maintaining a level of activity in the local Potsdam and overall the larger community during the pandemic. Can you discuss how things have come about for the volunteer work that the cross-country team did at Bayside Cemetery and what the Nordic team did at Higley Flow State Park?
Yep. So one of the things that we always, we love giving back to the community, especially to places that really have an impact for our programs. Bayside Cemetery is where we hold a lot of our workouts. It's where we hosted our Liberty League championships a couple of years ago. And usually every fall, as the leaves drop, they put a call out to Clarkson and to other local groups to come in and just help with some of the cemetery cleanup. It's a fairly wooded cemetery. There are a lot of leaves that come down. And our former athletic director, Steve Yannikis, is also involved in the board of directors at the cemetery. So he's kind of our inside connection. So every year we've gone out and spent a couple hours on a late season weekend, and just help go out there, rakes, tarps, leaf blowers.
Sometimes it can be snow blowing.
Last year we weren't able to rake last year because we would have needed to break out the snow blowers. So we kind of capped off our season on Halloween by going through and raking out Bayside Cemetery for a couple hours. And then last weekend, the Nordic team went down to Higley Flow State Park in South Colton, which is where most of our winter training is done, and did very much the same thing. It wasn't so much raking, but more trimming back branches and kind of new growth on some of the ski trails. There was a little bit of raking to get out some roots and other debris that was that may have grown in or fallen throughout the year. But again, it was another community group, the Friends of Higley Flow State Park, that every fall they put together this big work weekend. So we were down there. The St. Lawrence team was down there. A bunch of other members of the community. I believe I actually saw our women's soccer coach, Zach Shaw, and his family were down there helping out. And it was, just a big work day. It would be pretty socially distant. One thing they did differently this year than years past was everybody had kind of their trail assignments given to them ahead of time if they signed up ahead of time. And then we're just kind of keeping a running checklist of, all right, how many people does this trail have on it? Shut it down, and then move on to whatever the next trail assignment would be.
Last thing that I'd like to talk to you about is the annual Let's See You Give Day that Clarkson had a few weeks ago now. It was the 5th time that Clarkson Athletics has done a Giving Day, and you've been here for a handful of the more recent ones. What did your team do this year to try and connect with the team supporters? Like if you did anything on social media or anything like that, and how pleased were you with the outcome of the day? Obviously, we weren't able to do the same kind of grassroots that we usually do on campus, but so this was much more important to do a reach out. So I just wanted to see what you guys did for that.
Yep. So this year we relied a lot on our social media pages, on our Instagram accounts, our Facebook accounts, as well as our athletes' personal social media pages to get out to more to their family. And as a result, I think we did pretty well. because we weren't able to do the grassroots, I think numbers overall for us were slightly lower than.
Yeah, that seemed to be the case for a lot of the teams because they weren't
We're
making
slight.
all donations.
Yeah, like our donor numbers were down all from last year, but our overall like donation numbers weren't that much lower. So instead of having, I think in the past we've really pushed hard on the grassroots day. So we'd end up with, I think like our men's Nordic team would end up with like 70 donors, but 25 or 30 of them would be $5 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Where this year, I think we only ended up with somewhere between 40 and 50 donors, but a lot of them were $50 or more.
Yeah.
So even though we had a small number of donors, it didn't really hit our fundraising all that much. And we did have, we had a lot of great alumni turnout. A couple of alumni donated to both our Nordic and our cross country teams. I think we had one for Nordic from class of 1967, I believe, and one from cross country who was, I believe, class of 1969. So, so talking almost, talking 50 years later.
Yeah.
50 some odd years later, still giving back to the programs that they were a part of, back in their college years. And I do find that that's something that you don't necessarily see with a lot of other programs our size.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks a lot, Torin. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and best of luck for the Nordic ski season once the snow actually starts flying this year.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. Yeah, we had a bit of a teaser a couple weeks ago where we had a couple inches of snow on the ground, but then the last few days here it's been pushing 70.
Yeah.
And
it'll only be a matter of time.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Torin.